In this video, I'm going to talk to you about hypotheses. I'm going to talk to you about what is a hypothesis, how to construct a hypothesis, how to fit a hypothesis into your growth design process, and then one thing to make your hypotheses bulletproof. So what is a hypothesis? Well, a hypothesis is a testable statement based on insight you already have. The insight could be an assumption, an educated assumption, or it could be stuff that you've already got at hand, such as user research, data, or some market trend analysis. The statement itself is really important because it unifies everybody behind your experiment. And that's what the hypothesis is for. It is a statement to experiment with. So I've got a Figma file here. I'm going to dive straight into the Figma file and talk to you a little bit more about how to construct a hypothesis. So here is our hypothesis template. On the left, we've got the statement, and then on the right, we're going to break it down into what each of these sections are. I'm going to read it out. We know that 1 is true. If we do 2, then we'll see 3 happening, resulting in 4, a change in metric. And number 1 is starting with what we already know. So this is the data and insight. So hopefully before we've got to the hypothesis generating moment, we've digested all the data and insight we've got at hand to the team. This might be traffic run rates, this might be funnel conversion, it might be insights from user research, it might be market trend analysis, or it might be just simply an assumption that we have. You have to start somewhere. And then the second point is an action. So if we do something, then we will see something else happen. And that is 3, your assumed reason for why that is happening. And then finally, this will result in a change in metric. That's how we know how it's successful. So let's look at an example. This is our art museum sign up page. As you can see, it's pretty simple. We've analysed Google Analytics, or we've done some funnel analysis, and we've understood that out of 45% of people coming here, they don't convert. So 55% convert. I mean, I did this really roughly, and that sounds like a pretty good conversion rate, but let's not dwell on the numbers. We've taken that back to the team. We've tried to understand the problem a bit better. We've come up with some ideas, and we've landed on changing the copy to be more value focused. So we believe that changing the copy to be more value focused will see more people signing up. And this will result in a 5% uplift in sign-ups. Like I said, let's not dwell on the numbers. These are all fudge numbers by me, but should give you an idea. So this is going to act as our control. So I'm going to move this over here, and you can see our variant. So the variant has a little bit more of a value-led proposition. So get high resolution images when you become a member of this gallery. So we have a control version and our variant, and this is our hypothesis. Broadly, when I'm working with hypotheses in this sense, I like to keep the hypothesis on the Figma artboard. Then I'll have a visualization of what the control is and a visualization of what the variant is. So anybody who comes into this Figma file will be able to see that there is a hypothesis, there is something that we're going to change, and then what the original version is. So on one glance, it's really super easy to see. I would also have some links in here off to like experiment Notion docs or previous experiments, and then I would have a set of pages here. So this would be experiment 1, and then maybe later on in the line, later on when we learn something new, there would be experiment 2. You can just copy and paste that onto experiment 2. So there you have it. That's how hypotheses fit into my design process. It was a really rudimentary sort of whistle-top tour through it, but hopefully it gives you an idea of how it all fits together and will hopefully help you. So here's some final thoughts. Firstly, if you've not used hypotheses before, just start writing them. Hypotheses to me has been a relatively recent thing over the past couple of years, and I was pretty nervous to get into it. I'm not a scientist, I'm not an engineer, so it's kind of a bit weird for me to start writing them. But the more you write them, like anything, the better you get. Secondly, don't be constrained by the framework. If you find that the statement is becoming cumbersome or a little bit too much of a mouthful, then shorten it, make it something that works for you. As long as you've got an intention, an idea of the landscape, the context, so any data and insight, and a suggested change, and maybe an outcome, although that's not essential, then that's okay. And also, like, this is something for you and your team to rally around. So if it doesn't work for you and your team, then maybe just rethink it. All good. You might not have the data and insight to back up your hypothesis, and equally that is fine too. Starting with an assumption, an educated assumption preferably, is a good starting point. You get your hypothesis out there, you get your experiment out there, and you test and learn. The more you learn, the more insight you're going to have, the more data you're going to have. So then you could just iterate on it, write another hypothesis which is rooted in a bit more fact, and so on and so forth, until you've got something really crystallized as something really useful for you. And keep on repeating them. Keep on repeating them as often as you can. And what I mean by that is put the hypothesis statement in your Figma file, in a Notion doc, in a Google doc, in your presentations. Keep on repeating them because, and this is the thing I'm going to leave you with, always ladder your designs and your documentation back up to your hypotheses. It's really easy to lose sight of what you're trying to do with your design. Sometimes you're so bogged down into the weeds, into the process, into the design itself, into the build, that you forget what you're actually testing for. And that's the most important thing, is remembering what you're testing for. I've been in situations myself where I've designed a thing that's probably so far away from the actual hypothesis, it completely changes the outcome of the experiment. So always be laddering back up. So as you learn new things, tweak them. Keep on adjusting and iterating on your hypotheses. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. Apologies for the croaky voice, I've got a bit of a cold. And apologies for the odd editing. And apologies for the terrible numbers. I feel like every one of my videos is just an apology, but thank you for making it this far. Have a great day. Like and subscribe and post in the comments how you got on with hypotheses. Best of luck.